In this talk for Adler Graduate School course number 537, we are going to look at a process of generating hypotheses about a child's misbehavior using the individual psychology core construct of teleology, or goal-directedness. Like the other components of an adult lifestyle, the fictional final goal is a fiction, and it is the organizing principle for the lifestyle beliefs about self, the world, and other people. In individual psychology, the person is thought of as moving through life as if they were moving toward a fictional goal which is a figment of their own creativity. This is how Adler described the goal-directedness of the person. Quote, individual psychology thinks of the individual as living within a closed circle of social relations, but does so with the understanding that each person follows his or own particular route toward what he or she regards as successful adaptation to the social scene. Close quote. Dreikurs discusses the four goals of misbehavior, but when we look at a child's misbehavior, I like to say we are using the child's immediate purpose to understand their actions, not their goal. In 1935, Birnbaum used a phrase, assembling conclusions, that I find very useful in describing the process for arriving at an individual psychology case formulation. We develop a variety of hypotheses about the person and then assemble them like a jigsaw puzzle. When working with a parent, we do not assume that the mistaken immediate purpose of the child will stay the same over time. Fictional goal, guiding fiction, and fictional finalism are several of the terms Adler used to describe this aspect of his conceptualization of personality. Several core concepts of individual psychology are interrelated with the construct of goal and the teleological analysis of behavior. First, the building blocks of personality, including the goal, are beliefs or fictions. We act as if our fictions are true instead of being figments of our own creativity that have evolved through our unique family constellation and developmental path. As Adler put it, quote, the human mind shows an urge to capture into fixed forms, though unreal assumptions, that is, fictions which are chaotic, always in flux, and incomprehensible, close quote. Second, the dynamic force of human activity is moving from a felt minus to a felt plus situation, striving for a uniquely defined feeling of significance and superiority. Psychological activity is thought of as movement, and this movement is best understood by defining the goal toward which one is moving. Early in life, each of us creates a fictional goal of significance, success, and superiority. Third, the goal unifies all the psychological movement of the person into a self-consistent organization, which Adler called the style of life. In 1912, Adler wrote, quote, we can comprehend every single life phenomena as if the past, the present, and the future together, with a superordinated guiding idea, were present in all of its traces, close quote. Much of the time this goal works out of our awareness, and in individual psychology, this is an essential component of the unconscious. Finally, the goal must be understood as idiographic. As Adler says in What Life Should Mean to You, quote, the goal of superiority with each individual is personal and unique. It depends on the meaning he or she gives to life, and this meaning is not a matter of words. It is built upon his or her style of life and runs through it like a strange melody of his or her own creation, close quote. After World War I, Adler developed a creative and unique format for child guidance, incorporating education and reorientation strategies with teachers and parents. Over the years, the traditions of open forum counseling have evolved, and Rudolf Dreikurs was a primary moving force in implementing these child guidance clinics and then parenting classes across the United States. He identified 4 different goals of misbehavior which express the child's mistaken assumptions about being significant and having a place in his or her family and social world. In his writings, Dreikurs defines a constellation of beliefs which are guiding the child toward this misbehavior, and which reflect the child's discouragement about being able to find significance in a socially useful way. Dreikurs also defined several strategies for identifying the goal of misbehavior, as well as strategies for educating parents about the desire for significance that are motivating the misbehavior and encouraging them to adopt parenting strategies that are not punitive or shaming. I encourage you to think of these 4 immediate purposes of misbehavior as a way of keeping it distinct from the fictional final goal of an adult personality formulation. This chart captures several ways to identify the immediate purpose of a misbehavior. After the parent has described the misbehavior in detail, the inquiry shifts to how the parent felt. This powerful line of inquiry is based on the notion that the misbehavior is a part of the bipersonal field of the child and the parent. The child who is seeking undue attention from their parent evokes feelings of annoyance and a desire to coax and remind the child. Parents in a power struggle with their child will feel provoked, challenged, and will feel the need to control the situation. When the purpose of the child's behavior is revenge, the parent will feel hurt, mad, and betrayed. The inadequacy purpose of a child's behavior leads to feelings of despair and surrender in the parent. The second line of inquiry focuses on the child's response to the reprimand or correction offered by the parent. An attention-seeking child will stop the behavior for a while when given attention, even if the attention is a reprimand, but is likely to resume when they feel ignored. In a power struggle, the child escalates, just like the parent in many cases. When the purpose of the child's behavior is revenge, the escalation often contributes to the child being disliked by the parent and possibly by others. The inadequacy purpose of a child's behavior generally leads to hopelessness in the parent. As one purpose of the behavior emerges as likely, there is increasing support for the hypothesized belief that is active in the child at the time of the interaction, as we can see in the "What the Child is Saying" column of the chart. In this case, we can see that mother feels provoked, hurt, and even to some extent gives up. So she moves through all three of power, revenge, and inadequacy immediate purposes. And Patty doesn't really act very much. Maybe she intensifies her action. She certainly repeats it. But she doesn't want to be seen, and there are reprimands, and so it doesn't fit into that immediate purpose of inadequacy or revenge. And I would say that it is mostly a power struggle. The sad part is that it really is a lack of communication, because if Patty had just said, "I don't want to carry the lunchbox," or if they had had that discussion rather than engaging in the power struggle and escalating, things would have settled a lot more peacefully. This also illustrates that notion that logical consequences, which are a primary disciplinary strategy in the individual psychology parenting tools, is only effective when it's not a retaliation or when it's not considered a punishment. Then it becomes an invitation to engage in a power struggle.